Welcome back, everyone. We are now in the techniques stage of our emotional management series. So these are the nitty-gritty things that we can really do to help bring us into a more calm state where we can make better decisions for ourselves in the moment while having an emotional experience.
Right.
Now, this is very challenging work. Some people wouldn't really take it on. It's kind of a big ask. But then I look at the flip side and I'm like, if you don't do something about your emotional management or how you be with your emotions, then you're really at the whim of whatever is in your psyche, whatever your learnt and past behaviors are. You're in that cycle of just repeating.
Yeah, you're kind of not growing. You're kind of limited, I would say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So our hope for you is that these techniques will help you to feel empowered in managing emotional responses. So our first technique we're going to learn is the technique of containment versus discharge.
Okay.
So containment means our ability to contain or hold our own emotions. So it's as much space as we can give ourselves to experience an emotion without allowing it to be felt as discharge to others.
Right.
So I'm not sure if you've ever experienced someone discharging on you.
Yes, I'm just trying to think of a specific topic if that's going to be the next question. But a funny question, yeah, because it happens very regularly.
Yeah. I can think of many examples where people have been discharging. I had a friend the other day, and sometimes it happens. Part of discharging can also be venting. You'll notice, because the difference between containment and discharge, containment, when someone shares about their emotional response to you, you don't feel any residue or any attacking or any negative energy from that person. So you might hear their struggle and be able to empathize with them, but you won't feel like this bombardment of energy that's coming towards you.
Yeah. And
really, when we have an emotional experience like anger, you can't see anger.
Right.
So anger is an energy, but you know what? I can feel anger.
Yeah.
And you can feel it. And that's the same thing when we get discharged, is you can kind of feel it coming through, but it doesn't have a very positive effect. It's normally detrimental when it's a discharge.
Right.
So what happens is when we discharge on others, it's just it's an inability to, or an not knowing how to contain.
Right.
And that was something huge for me to learn. It's so empowering to be able to learn how to hold your own emotion.
Right.
And again, we're just going to give you some tips of how to start your process of learning to contain. But it is a process and it takes practice.
Yeah.
So the first thing is when you notice that feeling, we're going to go with the car incident, but when you notice the anger containing, the first thing to do is to take a breath.
Yeah. Okay.
If you can. Might just be a chest breath, as big a breath as you possibly can. And what that's doing is it's helping your body to make more space. And it's very interesting, if you want to do an experiment with yourself, is notice when you're in an emotional response what your body's doing.
Right.
And I know for me, in an emotional response, I am constricting my body.
Yeah.
And I'm either folding my shoulders in, I'm either holding my breath,
yeah,
or my breath is very shallow. I'm clenching in some way, or tightening my muscles in my shoulders. There's constriction in my body.
Yeah.
And that happens that is involuntary for me. And what I had to learn is how I could make myself more space, because when I did that, there was no room for me to hold the emotion.
Yeah.
So the only way it was coming out was in this discharge.
Right.
And then that was leaving me with feelings of regret, sadness, and feelings that I didn't want to have, and I wanted to feel more empowered and being able to offer myself that support.
Right. Yeah.
So the first thing is when you're having an emotional response is notice how you're constricting and do the opposite.
Yeah.
So if you're constricting by holding your hands tight, unclench your hands. Yeah. Notice. If you're tensing your legs, notice where you're holding tension and just try and focus on that area and see if you can do the opposite. If it's tensing, try and relax. If it's constricting of breath or shallow breathing, try and breathe really deeply. If it's like tension in the head, imagine calming the head. And just giving that space to do the opposite of what you normally do is you are now making space to contain.
Right.
And then when you're in that space of containing, you can be like, wow, I'm so angry.
Yeah.
And you could even match someone's energy if you're having a conversation, and you don't have to be quiet and mousy and shy. You know, you can own your emotion and you can be super angry. I'm so angry.
Yeah.
Now, what did that feel like for you to hear that?
I felt that it was good that you can still voice and still tell people or tell yourself you're angry, and not to just say, don't be angry, don't be angry. Yeah, and that's the other key. It's about this emotion is so beautiful. I think anger is so beautiful. It teaches us so many things about ourselves. It's a very important emotion. And part of the emotional management is embracing our emotions and allowing ourselves to have an emotional reaction, because that didn't happen for no reason. Right.
It happened because there's a very important reason why it happened.
Yeah.
And this is a way that we can allow ourselves to have a big emotion like anger and it to be okay, and for other people around us to be safe, because we've got a big container. We can hold our anger.
Yeah.
We've made space. We're not constricting.
Yeah.
And, you know, we're angry, and then we can express, I'm really angry because my need for space was not met, and I need space.
Yeah. And then you figured it out as well. Yeah. So then you're not possibly, I suspect that down the road throughout the whole day, maybe you're discharging a little bit on everybody, not just one person. Mm-hmm. And then everybody you come in contact with that day might feel that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I notice people in my life who discharge a lot, I normally distance myself from them.
Yeah.
Because for me, it's not a pleasant experience to be around people who discharge.
Yeah.
And my heart and compassion for them, because I've been in a place, and don't get me wrong, I still discharge.
Yeah.
I'm a lot more aware of, I know I'm discharging, and
yeah.
my partner, he knows, and I'm like, I've discharged on you. That's not the vision for myself. I apologize, and I'm going to contain my emotion. And we'll talk about how to give yourself a timeout if you need that space. But people that discharge, it's not comfortable to. I am not comfortable around people who discharge, and I have friends that I've had to really distance myself because it is too energy. It's too energy zapping, and maybe you know people in your life who constantly discharge on you and haven't got the ability to contain their emotion and even know what to do with their emotion. Right. And I find in my own life, when we can do that for ourselves, it's amazing what people notice. And people will notice. When you change for the better, people notice.
Yeah. And then again, people will want to, like, again, if it's in a couple situation or a friend situation, if you're changing, that person might, after a year, notice it. It might not be instant, and they'll want to change too and be that better, happier version or inquire about it. So yeah,
it's amazing. When we have the ability to change, also everything changes.
Yeah.
So maybe in a relationship where we've been struggling, maybe just learning how to contain our own emotions, how to create more space in our body, how to take more space around us to feel what is happening in our body.
Right.
And knowing where needs are attached to that could improve just by improving ourselves and our ability to contain emotion. For me, it's improved many relationships. Yeah. So that's our first one. Practice, see how you go, let us know.